Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2019 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live from McGilvery Speedway, 30th and High School in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. And if you come into town for the PRI show, you've got to take a trip about 2 miles straight west of the Speedway at 30th and High School. You got great food, great service, and of course the adult beverages are ice cold. Tonight's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, NTT IndyCar Series, and SVRA. A couple of things to mention. An upcoming event, the Dave Duerson Foundation, Dave Dusick Foundation is having their event at the IMS Media Center, and it's on the 12th. He will be here next week, so we'll get all the skinny on that. And my scheduled guests for next week are Allison Meglinton from the Speedway, Matt Mindrum of the Sales from the Speedway, Tony Perella of SVRA, and Dave Dusick will be here. So that's our guest for next week. And your server should have some tickets if you're interested in drawing for a Speedy Pass to see the lights at the Speedway. Take a ticket. We'll have a drawing when the program's over. I want to remind you, if you've never taken a ride in an IndyCar, you can take a ride in a two-seater. You can do that by getting in touch with IndyRacingExperience.com and find a date, and in the promo box put SJ1, and you get a 50% discount. I want to also mention that when you're in town, you want to take a ride in a limousine and visit some race shops, including the Grant King shop. You can call Grant King's office. Number is 317-820-3595. You'll enjoy it. It's a great trip. And if you have bought an old car and you need it restored, they can take care of it for you. They can do it all, including rebuilding engines. Just give them a call, 317-820-3595. My first guest is a gentleman that I have had the pleasure of knowing since I came to town almost 30 years ago. He was just a young boy at the time, and if I remember right, when I first got here, he was the general manager of what used to be IRP. It's now Lucas Oil Raceway. He moved on and was, I think, the director of Pro organization, which was the Professional Racers Organization, and NHRA. They coordinated with NHRA the drivers to make the sport safer, and I don't know how you can make it faster because the guys that build the cars, they make it fast. And he is the senior vice president now of Don Schumacher Racing, and this year he was elected into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. Please welcome Mr. Mike Lewis.
Thank you, Don.
How many calls a year do you get from Big Daddy? Does he call you frequently?
Not frequently, but we visit whenever our paths cross. The call that he brought his car and volunteered his own time, this would have been in 2018. He came to DSR for our open house the Friday of the U.S. Nationals. And we do a fundraising event for Riley Hospital. And he knew about that, and he asked on Thursday, would you like my car for display? Well, of course the answer is yes. And then he said, what time would you like me? So we had all the DSR drivers and Don Garlits. So we bought him dinner, I think it was Sunday night, and the phone rang on Wednesday following the U.S. Nationals, and I thought he was calling to say thank you for dinner or something like that. But that was the call where he informed me that I was on the list for the induction that took place last March. So we've talked a few times since. He's an amazing man. We should all be so lucky at his age to still be rebuilding cars, conducting business with his museum, and conducting the Hall of Fame, which for our sport in drag racing is the only real drag racing Hall of Fame. So what he's done, I think his greatest legacy may be, and Bill Simpson over here, where'd Bill go? Bill is, of course, he's in every Hall of Fame there is. But I think that's almost a greater legacy than all of his records as a driver.
I have been to his museum, and he was there the day I happened to be there. He wouldn't know me from a bag of noodles, but very interesting guy to talk to. And the stuff that he created, like realized that having a car like this with an engine in your face wasn't a good idea. So it was his idea to put it in the back, if I remember right.
There were others that tried. Nobody made it work until Don Garlits went to the Winter Nationals with well, I guess he made a few test runs and figured out how to adjust the steering, moving the driver halfway between the rear wheels and the front wheels instead of sitting behind the rear wheels. Took a different steering ratio, and once he perfected that, the car went straight. He can make full power runs, and the rest literally is history. Within a year, every national event winner, and ever since, has had a rear engine car.
It's amazing what the sport. How did you get involved in it? I know you're big into motorcycles and have been known to ride frequently.
Once upon a time.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my first drag racing was motorcycle drag racing, and it was across the street from the house where I grew up. And my family had a piece of property, and a motorcycle club on dirt drag raced for, I don't know, 500 feet or something like that. And a man named George Weiler, representing a car club in Reading, Pennsylvania, approached my grandfather and said this property would really lend itself well to a full quarter-mile drag strip for cars and motorcycles. And my grandfather liked the idea, built the track, and so I literally had a drag strip out my front window from the time I was 12 years old.
And you've been, again, you were, when I came to town, you were the general manager at then IRP. So you had not only an oval track, but of course, what you love most was the drag strip right there. So that had to be heaven to work there for a number of years.
Well, I had an uncle that raced sprint cars, not so much sprint cars, but modified stock cars in Reading. So I knew a lot more about oval racing than drag racing when I was 10, 12, 14 years old, and then converted my interest to drag racing. The minute I heard a nitro car, things kind of changed. But I've loved all types of racing, and those couple years at IRP were 3 of the best years of my life, and the opportunity to work with USAC, with NASCAR, with SCCA on the road course, and obviously to still be involved with NHRA. Those were pretty special years.
As the senior vice president, what do you do?
A little bit of everything, and sometimes if everything goes really well, some days not so much. But we've got a great group of people. I got a round of applause for being honest. Is that right, Joe? No, when things go really well, I oversee most of what goes on to some extent. But DSR is unique because Don Schumacher is a unique owner. I've never worked for an AJ Foyt. I've never worked for Don Perdome. And heaven help anybody that survives working for John Force. I mean, and all of them are very different. Don Schumacher is hands-on from the standpoint that all of the crew chiefs will get a call from Don if he likes what they're doing, and they'll get a call if he doesn't. And any of us will get a call from Don at any given time. So yeah, there's kind of a chain of command on paper, but we all report to Don. We all understand that it's Don's organization. We work for Don and his family. His daughter Megan is now vice president and working very much into the management of the organization. So my work touches everybody at DSR, but we have so many specialists that are so good at what they do. If everything goes smoothly, my work goes pretty smoothly as well. But I'll get phone calls not just from Don, but roadside calls if somebody's got a truck that breaks down or whatever. We've got to figure out all the logistics and make sure that we never disappoint our sponsors, our fans, and knock on wood, we have not yet missed a race. we've always been there.
You know, you and I were talking briefly before you came up, and the drivers that drive for Don Schumacher Racing are not only good racers, but they're good people, and they're good with the sponsors. They're good when they're interviewed. They're good with with the fans that come and want to talk to them, want a picture. They always don't have all the time they probably would like to have or would do, but they. And I got to think that Don Schumacher, being a businessman that he is, understands this is a sport, and you got to make the fans happy or they don't come back.
It's a job requirement with NHRA, and it really is with any type of motorsports. Um, drag racing, I mean, the ad slogan is every ticket includes a pit pass. So people expect to meet Leah, they expect to meet Antron, they expect autographs. I mean, our drivers are very busy because our sponsors expect visits to the midway, visits to the suites. Um, we do a lot of interaction with all of our hospitality guests. So our drivers are busy. Luckily, they're only busy for 3.5 seconds at a time making runs down the track, but it's part of the job requirement. If you don't have a personality, if you don't relate to people, you're not going to be able to represent not just Don, but driver for all these years. I know how competitive he is. He came within 3 points of winning the championship this year. And there's probably everybody in the Top Fuel pits at one time or another would like to see Doug Coletta win that championship. Tony denied him the championship in 06. Doug came within 3 points of Steve Torrance. This year, hopefully he'll be competitive for as long as he chooses to drive that Top Fuel car. He'll be one of the 2 or 3 people to beat for the championship.
Next year, have a fight on his hands with Antron.
Yes, absolutely. Antron will be back, no question.
This year, but it happens. Kind of guy that
he went for a 10-year stretch where nobody won more Top Fuel races between 08, 07, and 17. Take 8 or 9 years. In that time period, Antron won 50 Top Fuel races, averaging 5 or more a year, 3 championships, and he's run into a dry spell. Crew chief left, and he's coming back. So Antron will have his old team. More to follow, but Don's in town tomorrow. There'll be announcements made, I'm sure. But Antron will be competitive. He as a driver, he as a person, hasn't changed from his best year to his worst year. He's just one of the finest human beings on the face of the earth, both as an athlete, as a human being, as a racer, as a representative of our sport. We love Antron.
contacted him to stay available after the PRI, and I'll be here.
He'll have a lot to talk about.
Oh, I'm sure
He
he will.
always does.
Oh, think about it. A lot of people don't realize it. High school, he was a nationally ranked athlete, sprinter, one of the best in the country.
He ran the 60-meter indoor as quick as anyone. Had an invitation to try out for the Olympics, but he loved motorcycles in those days. Tried to race motocross, and then his cousin Troy Vincent, who had played for the Eagles and now works for the NFL. Troy said, maybe you should think about drag racing. So while I was at IRP in 1996, on a fall day, we rented the track to Dave Schultz, 6-time champion, rest his soul. But Dave was licensing a new racer named Antron Brown at IRP on that day. And I stood behind them and I watched this guy. And when you see somebody licensing, motorcycles are intimidating and very difficult to ride. Rode it just as smooth as silk. And we knew that this guy was exceptional. So that was 1996. It was 2003 when he came to DSR with Angel as part of the Army team. What a lot of people may not have known, but by the end of 07, Antron already had Top Fuel fire suit, helmet, boots, gloves, looking for an opportunity to move from the motorcycle to Top Fuel. Lee Beard provided that opportunity, and the rest is history.
Great guys in the sport. Face it, all of the divisions are in NHRA and NASCAR. But like you said, you buy a ticket for the race, you got drivers get pictures. The car is somewhat to that. Talk to them. Is there anything you'd like to accomplish? Now you're in the Hall of Fame. I want to mention, tonight Autosport has 4 members. One of them is this Howard Bellison, or better known as Howdy Bell. He got in from eating too much. They put him in. Across the table is Eldon Rasmussen, who Hall of Fame. Bill Simpson is in about every Hall of Fame there is, and he was telling me he just got inducted into the Hall of Fame in England, I believe it was. Now you're in the Hall of Fame. That's got four Hall of Famers in one room. That's pretty good.
Pretty good company.
Yeah. I'm thrilled it all here. You know, I have, but I don't go to as many drag races as a lot of them. But when I go out, I like to watch what goes on, and I watch how you move around in the hospitality, which is primarily what I see. When you go on elsewhere, I can't follow you. But, you know, it's fun to see how you are with people, the guests that are in your hospitality. I've never heard you say, you can't do that. Something they want, and you can absolutely take care of it. Now in the Hall of Fame. Now I can say, I know a guy that's in the drag racing hall. I'll say, thanks for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hope to see a couple of your drivers here upcoming.
Can I make a quick plug?
Sure.
You want to meet some of our drivers?
Where are they good?
How about all 7 of them, including Tony Schumacher? Our drivers have been invited, along with Don, to the opening breakfast of PRI.
Oh, really?
So Ralph Shaheen will be interviewing all 7 drivers and Don. I think it's 7 a.m. next Thursday morning. And the night before that, at Western Bowl on Washington at 465,
Yeah.
we do our Bowling for Riley event, and all of our drivers are bowling. You folks are all invited to join us. We had not just all of our drivers, but J.R. Todd, Cruz Pedregon, Alexander Rossi, who will be there again next Wednesday. And so the rivalry between the drag racers and Sarah Burgess from the Lucas Off-Road Series. I mean, we'll have a lot of drivers and a lot of people coming to PRI, and every lane at Western Bowl is sold out or will be sold out. I think there may be a few left. But our goal is to raise money for Riley Hospital for Children. It's 1 week from tomorrow at 6:30 at Western Bowl. And there's a little side bet going on between Rossi and Caps, some of the other NHRA drivers.
Really?
So it'll be a lot of fun.
Really?
Really.
Imagine that. Caps and Rossi betting.
Alex and his father came to watch Ron in Las Vegas this year. So it's a relationship that started with Napa, but it's gone beyond that. And just great people. Alex is terrific. He's another driver that, I mean, did he not make the Indy 500 fun to watch? Shoo.
And the interesting thing is, and with a lot of drivers, when he first came, I had him on. When, not anymore.
Yeah.
How would you? Got a good sense of humor. Guy.
Great guy.
Yeah. I bet he Ron Caps get along well.
They really do.
Thanks for coming here. Congratulations. Inducted into the National Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
Thank you for the invitation. Love it here at McGilvery's.
Thanks for coming in. Mike Lewis. My next guest will be here somewhere. I don't know her, and she doesn't know me, and anything she's been told is not true. I want to remind you that if you are an SVRA and a vintage car fan, you need to subscribe to Speed Tour magazine. Just go to svra.com and click on it and subscribe to Speed Tour magazine. It's a first-class, absolute first-class magazine. Great stories, great things going on with that. Want to keep up with who's what, and some of the cars you knew as a kid might be out running now, and some of the drivers you knew might be driving them. So check it out. The time for insurance for your home, your car, your commercial property. Go to do what a lot of us have done. See Mike Pardee at VP Insurance. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Give him a call, talk to him. When you have a problem, he doesn't leave you. He's beside you. He'll help you. Number 317-480-0070. That's VP Insurance and Speedway. Mike Pardee, 317-248-0070. I am meeting this young lady for the very first time. she's thrilled by it, I can assure you. She's
Very
so
thrilled.
excited. And I alerted her to the fact that whatever Marty told her is not true. I'm really not that bad. She is, I have her, she has, is the current education manager at the IMS Museum in Indianapolis. She started her position here, coming on to her first year in January last year. Worked for the Indiana State Police Museum for 3 years on the east side. Good idea. And she is very into education and the power of understanding, so we're going to find out what all she does. She's from Worcester, Ohio. She went to...
Well, I'm from Delaware, Ohio.
Oh, Delaware, that's
Yeah.
right. You went to college
In Worcester.
Worcester. Got her bachelor's there, and she got her master's at IUPUI, and now she's at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Please welcome Anna Wallace. Now, as I said, whatever Marty told you is not true.
I've only heard good things.
That probably isn't true either. Think of it. What got you into museums? Why are you in?
Well, I got my bachelor's degree in archaeology at the College of Worcester, so I like old things.
Well, then Bill and I ought to be right up your alley. We're both old.
Well, I like old things that come out of the ground, so you're not quite that old yet.
Unfortunately, we go down. We probably won't come back.
Well, I followed the old things into museums. I didn't want to let them go. And so when I started looking around at jobs that I wanted in museums, I realized I needed to get a master's degree. And I know I had to get more school. So I came to IPUI. I've been living in Indy for about 6 years now. And I just love it. I think museums are awesome. I'm a museum geek, so I've been to everyone. I love learning, and museums are great.
I can see things that could be displayed at the IMS Museum. What in the world do they put at a state police museum?
Well, actually, they're pretty similar. So,
what, old cars?
Yes. The State Police Museum has 7 or 8 cars right now on display. They have an original Indian motorcycle from 1933. They have a lot of John Dillinger memorabilia, including one of his tombstones that was stolen. They have firearms, uniforms, pictures, anything you can think of. Just State Police Museum.
Got one of his tombstones stolen. What? One of the state police steal it? Is that how it got there?
No. So John Dillinger is buried in Crown Hill Cemetery, and he's had about 4 tombstones, and one of them was stolen. Somebody, I don't know how you move a huge block of concrete like that, probably had a couple people to help. And then it was recovered by the state police, and in the meantime, a new one was put in its place, so they didn't know what to do with the one that was stolen, so they put it in the museum. And it's a good talking point.
I imagine. John Dillinger was very well known around this area. When you come into museums like IMS, do you have to know motorsports?
I was very transparent when I went through the interview process. I do not come from racing. I do not come from motorsports. I know that cars go around the track. That was what I came with.
You got that pretty well covered, yeah.
I'd been to a few events. You know, I'd seen the race, but I had never really delved into a lot of the stories that the museum tells. And so what I came with was a passion for education and that background and knowledge of how to get the information to people. So this has been a big learning process for me, this first year especially. I have to learn a lot.
Your bio says into different activities for families. What is it? Museum is race cars and trophies and stuff that's about it. What kind of program put together for whom? Young kids in grade school or high school? Who's it for?
Right now, I'm doing a lot of focusing on grade schools because we have a lot of school groups that want to come and visit the museum. So we have a lot of 4th graders that come in April, but we also have other school groups that come in the rest of the year. So middle school, about 3rd through 8th grade is the groups that we see. So families with children those ages. One of the simple things that we've added recently are coloring tables. Something simple like that. A lot of children are really loving that. but also adults. We have a lot of adults that sit down and color. Different things that kids can touch. People like to touch things, but they can't always touch all of the cars on display. So we have the parts petting zoo that you can touch. We have some tires that you can touch, and we're trying to add some more things for people.
Howdy. You hear the coloring books? I think we need to go over there.
We have some very nice chairs. Yeah, you can sit there. I
Are
think
they
I have
low?
like
Low for
they're
kids?
a little low.
Then we'll have trouble getting out of them.
Well,
a bachelor or a master's courses you aimed at museum work?
yes. So I focused on education in museums. So I took a lot of general museum courses, which include things like label writing,
Oh, good.
grant writing, how to put up a display, things like that. A lot of theory, a lot of reading. But then I did internships in education where I helped put on programs, helped work with kids, so that I had a lot of hands-on experience in museums as well.
I've got to ask this. You get an ooey from a guy by the name of Dave Wilson. Hangs around there from time to time, I'm told.
Yes.
Does he give you any lip?
No, not very often.
Not very often.
Dave's pretty helpful. Dave's pretty helpful.
Really? Won't talk to me. I left him a message and Bum wouldn't call me back.
You might need to email him. He's
The
very
hell with him. He
responsive with emails.
Can't pick up a phone. I got a flip phone. I can answer that damn.
You can talk to him. You can.
Well, I'll just. And the boss is here tonight,
Yes.
so I gotta talk nicer. Dude, what kind of interview do you applying for a job like this? Museum of Motorsports. Know about nothing. Okay. What next? Huh?
Well, one of the parts of the interview process that a lot of museums do is they give you a problem. So in this case, Betsy sent me some files and some information about Firestone tires and said, do something with this. So I had limited information and I had to figure out some lesson plans for high schoolers, middle schoolers, and what I would do to the tire display that's currently up. And then I had to present it to the interviewer. So I had to show that I can take a little bit of information and figure out what to do.
Probably would have just found a shredder and would.
Oh,
No, it
you can
didn't
learn
work.
a lot from tires.
My cars work very well. What gave you the incentive as a girl to get into this kind of career?
Museums?
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
Huh. Well, I love education, like I've said before, and I don't like teaching in classrooms. I feel like museums, you have a lot more flexibility of what you can do. You have a lot more freedom with people you can teach. I mean, I get to teach kindergartners, I get to teach high schoolers, college students, and then we have senior groups that come in that I get to teach. So it's really fun to see the different groups. Versus in a classroom, you're kind of stuck with one group of kids all day. So I get a little
Here today, stuck with you, and they nice to you.
I have a good, mean teacher voice, so
I see.
I've been told.
Now, heard a rumor. I don't know if it's. You have spare time.
I have a little bit of spare time.
Something that most people don't do in their spare time. And what is it you do with yours?
Well, I think you're talking about I powerlift.
Yes.
Yes. I've been powerlifting for a couple years. I compete. And that is what I do in my spare time. You can probably find me at about 3-4 days.
Which gym?
I go to LA Fitness, but then there's a gym here on the west side called West Indy Barbell that I go to. It's off of 71st Street.
Couldn't walk that far and get there. I understand that you regionally
Yes.
and have done well.
Yes. I placed third for bench press this year, and then I placed second overall for bench, deadlift, and squats.
I want you to know I was given, both Betsy and Marty said, don't mess with her. She'll pick you up, throw you out the door.
Could happen.
It
could
makes
happen
me
still.
nervous. It sounds silly to me anyway. A lot of people, women lifting. Not.
No.
There are some female.
Oh yes. My coach, she's probably not listening, but shout out to Melissa. I'll make her. She has been amazing with me, extremely patient, and she's one of the top in the country right now. And there are a lot of really, really wonderful women lifters that are really strong, really strong.
Scares me. I like female. See some of these, they look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Jeez.
Well, but they can lift heavy things, and that's fun.
He was talking about moving something today that was heavy. I'll have to send them over. They can move.
I did help move the Borg Warner once, the boxes. I did help with that once. I was dragged into it. So.
You were dragged in. You just went like. Here we go. Got you into that? Have you been?
A couple years. I just started one day. I met my coach at the gym, and I was tired of running laps. And so she said, well, why don't you try this? And I fell in love with it. It's fun to lift things.
Okay, I like, I lift it. I do pick up my computer and threaten to throw it on time because I'm good at it. What do you see the future trying to do? Will Betsy has coffee, so let you find something regional? Are you able to do that?
Well, actually, I had a hand a little bit in our current exhibit, which is up now. It just opened from the vault, which will be open until the end of April of next year. They let me put in a little wall that says, what do you collect? And we encourage people to come up and share on a Post-it note what they collect, because this show is all about our collection and the different things we collect. So I wanted to see what our visitors might collect. Some people collect stamps, cats, antiques.
Cats.
We have a lot of cat Post-its.
Jeez.
Yeah. So come see the show and tell us what you collect. So that's something that I kind of weaseled my way into.
Let me tell you, if you want to get into the front door and at the desk, you'll see this lovely blonde that's sitting. Will let you know what you need, what you want to ask her. She'll talk to you. Mike Smith shows up. Don't talk to him. Not as nice as she is. I've known Mike Smith 30-something. Okay. And it's called From the Vault.
From the Vault. That's our current special exhibit. Yep.
Are they rotating cars frequently? Because there's more cars in the vault than there is on the floor, I would.
Yes, our curator, Jason, he's going to be rotating cars, I think, every month. Just, a few cars will bring up and change out. So every month there'll be something a little bit different. There are some gems that'll always stay up, like Larry Basiglia's vans are always going to be up there. And a couple other gems that you'll have to see. But he will rotate some cars every month.
A couple of years tried to beat her, but had a good time talking to him. Well, kind of interesting. People have that you went to school with in courses you got.
Actually, I know an employee in just about every museum in town. I went to school with a lot of them, so. Some of my good friends work at different museums around the city, but we are spread out throughout the country. So some of my best friends are here.
Travel between back with
We do. We've had kind of monthly trips. A few of us will go out. We went to the IMA or Newfields. We went to the Idle-Jorg. We're still trying to get to the State Museum. We went to the Children's Museum just to see what they're doing and see if we can adopt any of their good ideas.
Farthest you go, is it Uber ride down?
I drive myself. No, and we are planning a trip to go maybe down to Louisville to some of their museums. They have some really nice museums down there. Wherever I am, I went to Philadelphia this year, so I went to as many museums as I could there.
Go on vacation, and Betsy doesn't have to pay for the trip to go to the museums.
Well, I did go to a conference.
Oh, well.
So I was working.
Okay. Conference. Talk about a museum conference.
Well, just like any conferences, people come with good ideas that you might want to adopt into your museum. I went to one about evaluation, a lot of education seminars. Kind of boring for other people, but I got, excited about
it. Back to this powerlifting. I'm trying to think. I bet Dave stays away from you because, to pick him up and throw him would be nothing.
Well, I don't know if everyone at the museum knows that they do now. I did have one of my medals in my purse for about 6 months. But.
Gold ones? You have it with you?
It was weighing me down.
And Howdy's going, picks up a piece of pizza, that weighs him down. Should have heard the stories of why he wasn't here for a couple of weeks. He had me, I was in tears. I was so upset. Howdy, well, lived here, you don't know him?
I don't know. I said, I was very transparent. I don't know a whole lot about him. I'm still learning.
I got news for you. Neither does he. I had to introduce him to Eldon. He didn't know who the hell Eldon was. He's in the Hall of Fame. He is, and what? I find motorsports phenomenally fascinating. Been around it since the 60s. I've been coming here since then. How I managed graduate, which time you couldn't, now it's even harder, but figured out a way to do it and got hooked on it and started a race in Chicago and went to still here. Why? Other than I love it. So you were here when Mario's.
Yes, I was.
And he was here frequently. So got to talk with him, I'm sure.
He held the door open for me one day.
Damn well better.
I know.
Gentlemen.
So I felt pretty special.
You messed up. You certainly could have thrown him somewhere. So you get to be involved with the board, what it is.
Yes, I've met some really awesome.
You had a conversation with Penske since over stewardship.
I have not met him personally. No, I've been in the same room, but not met him personally.
Okay. Dave introduced you. He and Dave are kind of pick on Dave. I know his sister, one of her patients. He has very little patience with me, I'll tell you. Well, I find it interesting that the museum has brought in some people they haven't had on staff I'm aware of, or they know they don't have anybody doing that. They would call me and rely on my. But now I'm glad you're here because up that. Ask me what. Betsy talks to me though. Not happily, but she does. I think the museum is excellent. I think big things upcoming for it, in my opinion. I don't know that, but I have a feeling it will be. Some of the accomplishments that Betsy and her staff are working to expand, I think, happen a lot. Interesting how it goes, and time on short notice. Come in here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thought it was interesting, and I learned things that I
Mhm.
didn't know before, which, and I will look next time I come in to see educational things I haven't
Mhm.
talking to. I can
Mhm.
just kind of eavesdrop.
Absolutely.
Don't mind if I eavesdrop.
No, I don't mind.
See, 8-year-old kids, what are you doing here?
Well, you could pretend to be a chaperone and stand in the back.
Say, quiet. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much. Oh, if I could do
Oh,
just
please,
a
go
plug,
right ahead.
we do have some programs coming up. We have Santa coming to the track. The 7th, this Saturday, the 14th, and the 21st. Santa will be at the track from 10 to 2 inside the museum. Come see our new exhibit. Come see Santa. Get a picture taken in our photo car with Santa. Fun. You can write a letter to Santa. Color. There'll be coloring pages.
We can color Santa. You and I could go see Santa. Get in the car. It'd be funny to see us get out. I haven't seen. I trust that tickets were passed out for drawings. I have 3 tickets for the lights at the Brickyard. I have speedy pass, so that means you go around. You don't have to stand in line. Go around and come in by the golf course. Tickets, so and she can handle. I'm sure you can grab a ticket, fluff them up so somebody doesn't accuse me. Shenanigans.
All right. 988-226.
Don't raise your hand.
Yay,
Come
in the
up.
back.
Do you want a ticket to go see it?
You know you want it. 226.
Are you going to take somebody? Will? Me, for instance? Are you going to take me? No. I mean,
That is the correct ticket.
the next one.
All right, the next one, 988-237. 237. 237.
237. Shook it up. Are you kidding?
No, nobody 237.
Oh, yeah, he's coming.
Oh, okay.
This means take a look at this guy. That's all right. Take a look at this guy. Next time you go to Home Depot, you get a discount. One more.
Thank you. All right. All right, 217. 217.
217. Anybody? I see somebody. Oh, that's Megan. Anybody got 217?
Right.
That doesn't count. He cheated. How about taking an old kid? All right. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for polling it so everybody knows it was honest, because not me. My guests next week, currently scheduled, and I'm told they'll be here. Allison Meglinton, she's the gal that puts all of the programs together at the Speedway. Matt Mindrum is the Vice President of Sales. Tony Perella is the CEO of SVRA. And Dave Dusick will be here. Now, it used to be IKDD. I know Dave Dusick. I had a shirt that said that, and people threw stuff at me. Now it's changed to RI. Racers know, or RKDD. Racers know Dave Dusick. I've asked a couple of racers, you know Dave Dusick? Who? But anyway, he'll be here next week. His event is at the Speedway, and I believe it's on the 4th floor of the center. Cash bar and some food trays, and the tickets are cheap. I will have him bring with him next week. So until next week, Don Kay saying thanks to you. I want to thank Anastasia, Wallace, and Mike Lewis for being here, our guests. Till next week, good night. And one of these days, I'm going to get the crew chief is here from the McGriff team. Their rookie driver, and it was a first-year team. They did quite well, and Jordan will be out of town, and when he's in town, we'll get him. And I'm going to insist that Joe come with him so he doesn't get lost. So till next week, thanks. Good night.